state protection advocacy agency for people with disabilities. Thumbnail, the federal government requires every state to name an entity to provide advocacy service for people with disabilities. We're it in Florida. Okay? My colleague in the back, Christopher White, is a managing attorney. We have attorneys, we have advocates, we have advocacy specialists. We've got 8 federal grants in several different areas. I won't name them all. I can. Can we go to the next slide?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. I always like to start off with this. It's a little dated, but it is demonstrative of a lot of things that we talked about, particularly in that last session. This is you scratching your head. What is going on? Where do I start? And there's 4 starting gates, 5 starting gates. But what I tried to, one of the most important things, I've been doing this a really long time. I'm really old, and I've been at my agency a really long time, and I've seen lots of fresh people come through. One of the first things I like to get everybody to understand is this makes sense. It's a system that actually makes sense. Kristen, when I first said that to you, did you kind of go, no, he's nuts?
Yes.
But it does. It all is interwoven. And if you get into that mindset and you begin to understand how things work, how Social Security, Medicaid, school, vocational rehabilitation, what waivers are and what they used to be and what they're turning into, long-term services and supports. It's all meant to come together. Okay? So keep that in mind. So next slide. What's disability for Social Security? We're here to talk about Social Security. Now, let me get an idea. I'm blind, by the way. Who do we have in the room? Can you just go around real quickly?
You can start right here. Go ahead.
Melinda Johnson. I'm a parent. This is Evan Johnson, and he has Asperger's.
Age group?
14.
Okay, so transition age youth. Next.
Pablo Puente, I'm the program, service source.
Okay, so a provider or service provider of some type. Advocacy provider, service provider.
Believe it, right? I'm manager of the WIPA program, service source.
Okay.
Cece Morelli, parent of Danny Morelli, 20 years old, going on 21, and transitioning.
So right in that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get hurt by these agencies group.
Shelby, I'm a parent, and I have Jeffrey to be my son, and he's at age 17.
So you're just down from they're gonna hurt me.
Yes, Annette Caldwell, parent. And this is my 20-year-old son, Logan.
Okay, so you're right in that same group too?
Elizabeth Wilson, I have 11-year-old twins, boy and girl. And we're a little bit below the they're gonna get me group, but I'm trying to learn all I can.
But you're on the list of they're gonna
I'm
get
on
you.
the list, yeah.
I'm Terry Call, my son Devin is 20, he's autistic, so he's also.
Okay.
And so Michelle and Al Bowman, and we have a 9-year-old who's autistic and intellectually disabled. And we're here to learn.
So you're right here scratching your head.
Yep.
Okay. So I know my audience.
One more.
Oh, there's more?
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the first thing you need to know while you're scratching your head is they're out to get you. And you need help. And that's one of the things, excuse me?
What do you mean they're up to get us?
The system isn't built to be user friendly.
Right.
And when I say they're out to get you, there's only so many dollars available, and you're all in competition for them.
Right.
So I'm not trying to make you paranoid. I'm just trying to make you aware. I'm trying to make you aware that there's help out there.
Mhm.
There's people like me, Christopher, other providers and certain advocacy groups. So just also get a feel. Who's on who's applied for Social Security, on Social Security, been denied Social Security, any of those categories? Yes? Any and all those categories?
No.
Denied, so they really got you.
Accepted for SSI,
Okay, but they're playing around with your amount.
possibly.
Okay,
You know, I hear different things and do this, don't do that. I'm here to learn what
okay.
Kenyon should do.
Definition of disability, and we've got a lot of information in these slides. I'm going to try to, I'm trying to make this user friendly. You're all smart people. You all can look at the slides. I'm trying to give you a sense of this chart of how it fits together and how to get a sense so that you're not out there and scared and alone. Okay. The medical standards for disability are the same as for Title II groups and Title 16 SSI. Okay, first confusing thing. Each part of Social Security has a different name. So you've got Title II, which is also called Old Age Survivors and Disability. It's also called SSDI or SSRI or SSSU, but it's all Title II. Title II is, and then there's Title 16, which is SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income. Next slide. And you saw the definition. I don't have to beat anybody up about what the definition is. Adult, the inability to engage in substantial gainful activity because by reason of medically determinable physical or mental impairment, which can be expected to result in death or has lasted or can be expected to last for a continuous period of not less than 12 months. Anybody know what that means? Important things. Substantial gainful activity, I'll get to that. I'll explain that. Reason of medically determinable physical or mental impairment. What does medically determinable mean? I used this morning in Christopher's presentation. Evidence. Have to be able to prove it. I mean, that's one thing that the first thing people don't get about Social Security. It's a legal proceeding. There's laws that surround it. So you can't just go in. A lot of people say, hey, I filled out the application. Application is nothing. You got to provide evidence. Medically determinable physical and mental impairment. Physical and mental impairment. There's a list of them. It's called the Blue Book. So you have to meet or equal the listings in the Blue Book. But again, that's medically determinable. Death is self-defined, 12 months or more, self-defined. Next slide. Definition for children. It's different. A child may be eligible for SSI disability benefits beginning as early as birth. That's pretty simple. Child SSI benefits must be, what does that say? Either blind or disabled. Okay. SSI is a supplemental security income program that's designed to provide a minimum level of income for people who are aged, over 65, blind, or disabled. You're not getting the individuals don't get SSI. You don't get money for being disabled. get money for being poor and disabled. Next slide. Disability insurance benefit. Oh, that's another term. DIB is also Title II, old age survivors and disability. It's also called DIB. Must be fully insured. What does that mean? It's an insurance program. Social Security disability insurance. What do you do? How do you get insured? You pay a premium. That's how you get Social Security. You pay in when you're working. That money, part of that money that they take out of your paycheck, is a premium to pay into the program, and it pays into 3 parts. Pays into old age, which is retirement. Not that, and now full retirement age is 66, and for some people, full benefit is 70. So it's really old age. Old age survivors. That's people who are surviving someone who's paid into the insurance, or disability. And that's someone who has either paid in through their own work or is a survivor, a family member of someone who's paid in, one of the listeners. Again, you don't get money for being disabled unless you purchased insurance. Does that make sense? Is it beginning to make some sense? Is that, I mean, is there some clarity there now?
You gotta pay in to get.
You got to pay in to be insured. I mean, like if you don't pay your auto insurance, you're not covered for an accident. If you don't pay it to Social Security, you're not covered to become disabled or being disabled. Under SSI, you're not getting paid because you have a disability. You're getting paid because the government says these groups of people are people who are vulnerable if they don't have this minimum amount of money coming in. You're not getting the money because you have a disability. You're getting the money because you're poor and have a disability. Any questions on the slide? I mean,
So-
a lot of these are self-explanatory. Go ahead.
So Victor,
Yes.
if I'm understanding correctly, for the SSDI, the disability,
Mhm.
Someone has to have paid, like a parent or
Mhm.
for the child to be able to get those benefits.
Right.
But for SSI, Social Security income,
Yeah.
is
Supplemental security income. Supplemental.
Supplemental security income. Can they get that even if they have not worked a
Yep.
day in their life?
Yep.
Okay,
That's why it's in at birth.
okay.
But you got to be poor.
Yep.
And part of being poor is you can't be living with somebody who isn't this poor.
Okay,
Okay, so beginning to get some clarity here.
yes.
What's the definition of poor?
And federal government is
I mean, how much is supposed to be worth before you become
the federal government every year comes up with what's called the federal benefit rate, which for this year, 2015, was it $730? $730 a month.
733?
733.
Again, I've been doing this a really long time. It's hard to keep, and the right figures are in the PowerPoint. So that's next slide, I guess. Okay, SSDI benefits are monthly benefit, paid monthly. It's based on a worker's work history and how much they paid in. And there's numbers there. The maximum amount of benefit 2015 is $26.63. I've only seen one person get maxed out on their benefit. Yeah, I've been doing it for a really long time. Next slide. I said I was going to get back to substantial gainful activity. Definition of disability: the inability to perform substantial gainful activity because of an impairment or group of impairment that meet or equals the listing, medically determinable impairment. Substantial gainful activity is work. Federal government for 2015 says that if you are able to, and it's not that you are earning, if you are able to earn at least $1,090 a month, you don't meet the definition of disability. Again, this is an insurance. Part of the definition of disability is the inability to work. The purpose of Social Security, when Franklin Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act in 1933, April 19, I think we're coming up on our anniversary. It was to help people who were being couldn't find jobs because of the Depression. It was a depression relief legislation. So, and it's that you, not that you aren't, but you can't. So I've get clients who call in and say, Social Security says I'm not disabled. And, you know, I haven't worked in such and such amount of time. I can't. But can you work? Well, yeah, I can work part-time. Does that part-time go? So, making sense? And I'm blind. Helen Keller did a hell of a job of advocating for people with disability, with blindness. We've got all sorts of special rules. Substantial gainful activity for blind people is $800 more, and it's fixed. In other words, right now, I earn okay salary. I'm not going to say it's great. I'm not going to say I'm, you know, so okay. But I've got an application into Social Security, and it's fixed. Blind people have a really good. It's called freeze. We're not subject to some of these same rules. Okay. That's where public advocacy comes into play. Is government responds. Where am I? Okay, I guess we can go to the next slide. I already talked about medically determinable. What's this? Benefit eligibility. Talked about having benefits can be paid to workers and their dependents or survivors only if the worker has worked long enough. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about paying in. If you, again, like most insurances, yeah, or this is actually, it's more like a traditional disability policy or a plan where you become vested. You got to pay in enough to be a covered worker. So in I think that's the next slide. Nope. One of these slides talks about quarters of coverage. So you have to work X amount of, and again, I don't need to recite facts here that in the PowerPoint, you can look them up. I'm just trying to give you a big picture here. You have to work enough to become a covered individual. It's, what is it, 4? I can't even remember. Yeah, it's in there.
Slide 6.
Huh?
Slide 6.
Yeah, it's, I can bring it back up for you.
Yeah, but you all can look, I mean, it's just important that you get the big picture so that you don't sit around scratching. You can always look information up. Important to get the big picture. Medicare is associated with Title II. Title II is old age, survivors, and disability, or DIB, or SSDI, SSRI. Okay, Medicare is a medical coverage. There is a 2-year or 29-month waiting period for Medicare for disability. That's 24 months plus the 5-month Social Security waiting period. Anybody know what I'm talking about on these waiting periods?
Yes.
Okay. There's a waiting period. It's silly. This is one of the silliest pieces of legislation, because when somebody gets hurt and can't work, let's say someone has an auto accident, injures their back. It's now applies for Social Security, meets the definition of Social Security. What's the easiest way for them to get back to work? Medical care, physical therapy, occupational therapy. So what does the government do? Say no. And the critical point is the first 2 years, right? So what does the government say? No, for the first 2 years, you're not going to get medical care because we really want you to get back to work and get off the Social Security rolls. That was sarcasm. Is it making sense?
They want to screw you.
Huh?
They want to screw you.
No, what happened was,
You can't pay your bills, what happens?
well, what happened was Social Security was, you have to go back to the history of Social Security. History of Social Security was in the 30s, it was a relief from depression, in the Depression era, and it was created originally, it was just old age or retirement benefits. Then subsequently, disability came in. And disability was added. On the original legislation, it was just blind. Subsequently, disability was added. But there was always the 2-year prohibition on the medical. So it makes sense. They're trying to get around this. Part of the Affordable Care Act tried to address this with expanded Medicaid. I'm not going to mention expanded Medicaid in Florida because lightning may shoot down from Tallahassee. We're trying to address it. Medicare has several parts. Part A is hospital. Part B is medical insurance. Part B usually it comes with a deductible copay. Usually covers 80%. Next slide. SSI. Now, for those of us of a certain age, like me, and again, living in today's society, people don't realize in 1972, when SSI came to be, I was old enough to have children. I didn't quite yet. 1972. That wasn't that long ago in the history of the United States. Children with disabilities, and typically children aren't covered under Title II because they haven't paid in. Again, you're not getting paid to have a disability. You're getting paid because you've paid in or you meet the requirements. So, and going on SSDI, we talked about dependents. You can have children with a disability, but they're only going to get a benefit based on whether the parent is getting a benefit. So when you're talking about a dependent or survivor's benefit, survivor is self-explanatory. The person who paid it has to be dead. You have to survive them. Dependent means the government is replacing money that the person, the wage earner, the person who's paying it would have been getting. So you only get those dependent benefits if the wage earner, the person who's insured, is getting a benefit, either retired or disabled. So does it make some sense now?
You have a question, Victor?
Yes.
If a child gets SSI, is there a time in their life when it caps out or they say no more because you got it when you were a kid?
No.
Does it hurt them later on in their life?
No. We'll get to that. Okay. Again, SSI, that is a really important, I see, and so 1972, disabled and poor. Next slide. Oh, that's really small print. Okay, we talked about a lot of this. SSI, Where does SSI come from?
Picture.
Comes from everybody. It comes from the general tax fund.
Our pockets.
It comes from the general tax fund as opposed to SSDI that comes from a trust fund that you've paid in because you paid into premiums. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of the rules around SSI are so restrictive, because it comes from general tax fund. It's everybody's paying for it, as opposed to just money that's been, you've heard about these trust funds. Well, where am I? Doesn't matter what day of the month it comes. Okay, so there's a lot of technical restrictions. Must be a legal resident of the United States. There used to be a case called Prucall, permanently residing in the Colorado law. They've, state of Florida's messed around with that. Certain absences from the country. Next slide. Monthly cash benefit, depending on the recipient's categorical status, marital status, and living arrangement. And again, we talked about the federal benefit rate for 2015 is $733 for individuals and was $1,100 for married couples. So let's talk about, let's go to the next slide. SSI payment for any individual may vary, number of factors, maximum number of payable. Okay. There are some states that have a supplement to the supplemental security income. Florida is not one of them. So, person's living arrangement. This is really important. Yes, I just had an argument with somebody yesterday about it because living arrangement is how and where somebody lives. So, like I said, SSI is a supplemental security income. You don't get paid because of having a disability. You get paid for having a disability and being poor. If someone is helping you out in your living arrangement, you're living in a parent's home and you're over 18, that's someone helping you out. That's income. It's called in-kind support, because the government expects people over 18 to be self-sufficient. Makes sense? It's beginning to make some sense. Living arrangements include, and there's this, Social Security talks about fair share. Someone's paying their fair share. So if I'm living in a $500,000 house in a really nice neighborhood, and my mortgage is $3,000, $5,000 a month, whatever it is, and my property taxes are, $1,500 a month, and there's only 2 people living in that house, what's the fair share? Half. So if someone's living in $1,500 a month apartment, $1,500 a month is not that unreasonable. And there's 2 people. What's the fair share? Yeah. How much is federal benefit rate? $733. Is it fair that, I mean, if you have a rental agreement with your mother that says, I'm going to pay $50 a month to live in this apartment that's costing mom $1,500 a month, is that a fair share? That's what people don't get. Some of this makes sense. And yes, mom gives people a break. Hey, when I lost my job when I was 26, I went back home. But I didn't expect the government to pay me $733 a month to live at home with my mom. Making sense? And again, I'm just trying to make sense here. The facts and figures are here. And you can always call us. What else? We talked about living arrangement, person's category of eligibility. I don't even remember what that means. Oh, okay, category of eligibility. Aged, over 65, blind, or disabled. And we'll get to that. What's one of the first things I ever told you about Medicaid? It's categorical. You have to fit into a particular category, age, blind, or disabled. You don't just get Medicaid because it's out there, because you need insurance. Other income that the person may have. Well, why do people create special needs trusts? Or have annuities? And are those counted against Social Security? Yeah, unless they're written right? It's for people who have a disability and are poor. If someone gave you a bunch of money because they broke your back in a car accident, you're not poor. You may have to put that money in a special needs trust in order to have it reserved for your benefit. Making sense? If you have an annuity because somebody broke your back in an auto accident, and you went to court and they're paying you an annuity every month, that's income. Getting back to SSI, there's a difference between income and resources. By the way, under SSDI, the kind of Social Security that you pay in for, they don't care what sort of resources you have. They don't count resources against you. SSI, because you have to be what? Disabled and poor. If you have resources that can be expended on your behalf. Okay, grandma, when someone's have a child that's born with a disability. Grandma started a 529 account when the kid was born. Disability wasn't discovered until 6 months when family was noticing that there was developmental delays. Grandma started the 529 account because that's what she did for all grandchildren, right? That's what grandmas do oftentimes. 529 account is accountable resource. Making sense? It's money that can be used. 529 accounts can be transferred. They're transferable. Next slide. How am I doing on time?
You have 10 minutes.
Okay, I went through living arrangements pretty well. The statutes are on the bottom. Income eligibility. There's different types of income. There's earned income and unearned income. Earned income, pretty obvious. Money you get that you earn from a job. Unearned income is money you get from something else, not a job. Here, Chris, here's 20 bucks. That's unearned income. If somebody gives you money, it's unearned income. If you have money coming in from an annuity, unearned income. What's the biggest unearned income with SSI? Is someone who's a dual eligible, someone who's getting SSDI, money that's been paid in, but it doesn't come up to that threshold amount. That threshold amount is 733. Okay, I just lost you. And I'm blind. I know I just lost you. Okay. There's a formula, and we'll get to it, for figuring out SSI benefits. Again, we said that the SSI is because the government said there's a certain amount of money that each year they say this is the minimum amount somebody needs to live on. $733 is what the federal government says one person can live on. I didn't make up the number. Talk to the feds. But there's a form. So if you're getting, let's say, remember when we talked about SSDI? I said it depends how much you get for SSDI depends on how much you paid in. You know, it was based on amount of wages and age and other factors. It's called PIA. Let's say you're only getting the person with a disability became disabled when they were 27, worked a couple of years. Make sense? Wild child, worked a couple of years at a Harley shop. One afternoon, takes off down the road in his soft tail, and some semi comes by and blows him off the road. He's worked a couple of years, paid in, insured worker, but his earnings weren't. So he's only entitled to $450 in the money that he paid in. Well, $450 doesn't meet that 733 minimum threshold that federal government says. So that's where the word supplemental comes in. That's why one of the reasons why SSI was created. It was to supplement those people who were age 65, old age, whose retirement benefits didn't reach that minimum benefit rate, or people with disabilities who had paid into the system, who hadn't paid in enough. Like I said, you're not getting paid to be disabled. You're getting paid because, is it making sense? The whole thing was created around the system of supporting people, of insurance, to support people who work. So that's why it's supplemental. Okay, so that's the biggest group of unearned income. And then, of course, there's the unearned income that I already talked about, in-kind support and maintenance. That's someone providing you housing, someone providing you food. Food stamps is counted again, is subtracted from SSI. What else is in kind? They really don't count clothing that much anymore. It's one of the discounted categories.
Can you use SSI for clothing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
SSI is designed to meet the current needs of an individual. You don't have to just use it for food and shelter. Next slide. Okay, again, these are examples. We just spoke about them. Gifts, prizes, rental income, inheritances. That's all unearned income. We talked, go ahead.
The rental income. So if my child was to live with me, and he's 27, and let's say he gets SSI because he's never worked.
Is someone paying him?
No.
That's rent. That we're talking about countable income.
Okay.
Income that if he had a house and was renting a room to somebody,
Okay.
that income would be counted against him.
Gotcha.
Okay, next slide. 1/3 VTR, value 1/3 reduction. If someone's getting in-kind maintenance and support, in other words, if they're living in a parent's household, even if the parent is got $1 million mansion, all Social Security can do is reduce the benefit by 1/3. Doesn't make you ineligible. Now they may look at it under, next slide. No, next slide. Under presumed maximum value, which is where they look at the value of that instead of looking at VTR, 1/3 reduction. They may actually look at what you're getting in that for that room as something more than just shelter. They may look at the whole package of what you're getting when you're living with your mom as income, and then they can go higher than the presumed max than VTR. Although presumed maximum value does calculate out to a max of close to 1/3. I've already lost you, right?
Yeah, again. 5 minutes.
Okay. Again, it's in the slide. The regs are there. There's examples. This is not something that you're going to understand in one sitting. Next slide. Deeming. Deeming is, Christopher didn't want to deal with it. Deeming is for children under age 18 or a spouse where you count someone else's income as the income where you're calculating whether someone's meets the minimum threshold. So, and there's a formula for it, and people calling up all the time. Social Security didn't calculate my deeming right. No, that's absolutely wrong, because no one at Social Security calculates the deeming again. They put the number that they told you that you earned into a box, and a computer calculates it. There's no person in Social Security with a pencil sitting there. I've never seen them mess up a deeming calculation. I've got that Social Security program on my computer. The mess up is always human. It's that someone didn't tell somebody a certain amount of money, and Social Security found out about it through checking.
Yeah. Taxes.
Because the IRS does report to Social Security, and you do sign a release to Social Security to be able to check your income. Next slide. More about deeming. What's this? Next slide. Do we really want to go over the SSI formula? Okay, it's there, it's easy to figure out. Explanation of resources I mean, again, I'm giving you a thumbnail. The definition, go to the slide for definitions. Next slide. Suspension versus termination. Okay, suspension is if you become ineligible for SSI for any reason. SSI is a month-to-month benefit. You're only ineligible on the month that you're ineligible for. If you continue to be eligible for 12 consecutive months, then it's terminated. That's actually pretty simple. It's one of the simpler things. So if you're on SSI and you go to work 1 month and you become ineligible, you're eligible the next month. But if you work for 12 months consecutive over the calculation, the formula, and again, when I say the $733 a month, there's a formula. There's $85 deducted off the top, and then it's whether it's earned income or unearned income, they reduce the benefit either 1 for 1 or 2 for 1, depending on whether it's earned income or not earned income. You can look at the formula.
1 minute.
We're done with that. Anybody who wants to know about this is a transition age group for the most part. There's all sorts of work incentive information here. For SSI people, there's another handout I'm going to give you. There's something called the student earned income exclusion.
Here, I'll pass it out.
I'm not sure where it went. I may not have found it. Or it's in somewhere. I may not have it.
I think there's slides about it in here.
Yeah,
There's a bunch of slides.
I think it's still on my chair, right?
It could still be on your chair.
There's more slides.
Oh, there's plenty of slides.
Yeah.
There was a separate handout I had on student earned income exclusion. Very important benefit that most people, that is overlooked. The reason why it's overlooked is because it's not something Social Security is supposed to apply it automatically. They don't. They forget. But it's very important, and it's really for kids that are transitioning. It's the most important thing you need to know about SSI.
Time's up.
Okay, I'm done.
So what's?
Do I have enough time to answer a couple of questions?
What was the most important thing?
We've gone over by 3 minutes.
Okay,
And I have a quick question.
and my
Go ahead,
business
go
cards
ahead.
are up here.
No, go ahead. Ask the question.
You go first.
You were saying the most important thing that Social Security always forgets. What was that?
It's something called a student earned income exclusion. It's when kids who are on SSI between the ages of I think it's up to 23. The first, again,
That's all right. I can.
off the top of my head, it's about $1,700 a month is
Okay.
excluded. It's work money.
Okay.
All right.
Student earned income.
Next one.
I guess I had a question. My son, when he did turn 18, got guardian advocacy and then applied for SSI, and so I'm his payee.
Yeah, Social Security doesn't care about part of that.
And I guess, the magic numbers of, his food, shelter, and all of this, that to get the max benefits for him, because if he's in a group home, or if he's home or whatever, getting him set, and again, living in the home and what it takes, with the numbers to make it. And I guess I've talked to other parents and others, and I just don't quite understand the system totally. And right now, in trying to calculate at least, rent, room, and board, but, the clothing and medical care, I'm just a little
Clothing and medical
confused
care
about.
aren't counted as income.
Okay, so in the end, if it, like I have Blue Cross Blue Shield, but then Medicaid, but sometimes I have to pay copay when a provider isn't, when I pay that
Because
copay for them.
Medicaid is a payer of last resort.
But can I include that as an expense for him then? Or,
Well, Medicaid should be picking up some of it.
yeah, but like say as pediatrician, I don't go to one that accepts
Well, that's-
Medicaid because I need one that's local. So when I pay a copay, is that something, again, I can tally up that this costs for him this much?
No, because they're looking at the income.
Okay, I guess.
the expense.
Okay, but when I say what I'm using the SSI money for, that's what I mean. When I'm getting that money for him, what can I say I'm
That's-
using it for?
They just want to make sure, the only thing that Social Security really cares about what the SSI money is being used for
Yeah,
is that it's not being misused.
okay, and I guess that's my question then. For two years now, I've had the person call me each year to make sure what I'm using it, and I'm using it for room and board. That tallies up between, the mortgage.
You're confusing what Social Security misuse of funds with what they're considering in-kind maintenance and support. So because it all fits together. It doesn't matter that I'm off camera now.